Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucci, joined, as usual, by my broadcast partner, the boy, Prince Albert. What were his other names? Shit.
Let's see.
Like
Tensai. A-Train.
A-Train, yeah.
Giant Bernard.
Giant Bernard.
Sweet Tea. Very briefly.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey.
This is the Two Nerds podcast. I am a nerd.
I am another nerd.
Just another nerd. We're going to tell you some things about wrestling. Before that happens, though, hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Adore my cat yowling in the background. Share the links among your friends. Comment if you have things to say.
You know, the funny thing is, I had a day off work.
What?
I know you're in the middle of your little speechy speech.
Oh my god. I haven't told the listener that they really should follow the link in the description and check out the Shining Wizzato store to help out Super Blizzard because he gave us Let's Get Hardcore as our theme music for free.
You also haven't mentioned that he makes video games like Joy Lancer and Puppet Kingdom. You're really off your ball today.
Because you interrupted me, you tit butt.
Anyway, I was here all day. She was completely silent until we started recording.
What's that? People are talking now. Spaz talks too.
Anyway, listener.
So finally, if I may, finally, we listened to you guys and watched NXT for their not a pay-per-view.
Yeah, their NXT TakeOver Rival.
It's just NXT Rival.
No, it was NXT TakeOver
Oh, it was?
Rival.
Oh, okay.
That's the fucking
I'm chagrined. All right.
That is the full name.
You're right. You are right, and I am wrong.
Because it says NXT TakeOver Rival. I saw this graphic like 50 times last night. And then the AR is smashed by the giant NXT logo.
Yeah, I saw that. I just missed the TakeOver part.
Yeah, NXT TakeOver Rival.
So we watched that, because, everybody's like, NXT is so great! You guys should watch it! And we're like, Mickey Mouse, it's weird that you would tell us these things.
Well, not really. I mean, Mickey's a cool guy.
Well, yeah, just...
too into,
It's a family show, don't go there. Y'all got a fucked up family, this is a family show. But, you guys have been telling us for a long time, our friends have been telling us for a long time, dude, NXT is awesome.
You guys will love it.
And
we've been tell me this.
We've been bogged down by the snot slime that is standard WWE.
And all we hear is, NXT's great, or I've seen regular WWE with their actual people. What's their minor leagues gonna give me that's better? I'm just gonna see lower budget, smaller arena, same shit. No, very.
I figured it was just the, what do you call it? The contrarian nature of some people who were like, oh, this isn't regular WWE, and it's less well known, so it's obviously cooler.
Therefore it's good. But, it's... What actually originally, and this is going to sound like such a douchebaggy line, but what finally got me over the hump into being, full-on interested in listening to it was Triple H's podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he mentions that he basically books the show. It doesn't have the preponderance of writers. He lets most of the talent cut their own promos, and it doesn't have Vince near it. So it's a different style, and because it's and the biggest thing is it's a very small demographic, because it's only for people it only can exist for people who have the network already. People who have the network already are probably, their demographic they were pushing towards in the 90s. 18 to 34 male demographic. That creates a certain kind of wrestling show, and Paul can tailor the show to that demographic. And look, I'm not beyond being marketed towards, okay? This was the kind of wrestling show I want to watch.
Well, yeah, and beyond the marketing mouth shit, this is great for fans of the act of wrestling.
Yeah, the professional wrestling.
And people who enjoy the pageantry, but not that goddamn much.
Yeah.
WWE
has turned the Liberace meter, all the way to full in some instances.
My initial assessment was that it reminded me a lot of WCW.
And I push back against this assessment because I am a man for whom WCW is not a compliment.
Well, it's very clear they're not afraid to try shit.
Because the whole point of the thing is to try shit, see what you can get over with.
There's a lot... It seemed like a lot of guys were on the card. I know this was one of their Supercards, but it seemed like there were a lot of guys on the card that weren't necessarily, the big storylines all the time. And the way I understand about the rest of their roster, that's frequently the case.
Yeah, they try and rotate out as much as possible, from what I understand.
It had that late 80s, early 90s vibe. Not quite Attitude Era, because that's when the pageantry really hyped up. And don't get me wrong, I love the Attitude Era, but
no,
this was still a wrestling program.
The new generation is about when he's talking.
And that's why I'm reminding a lot of the golden era of WCW, just with different production values.
Yeah. To say, still a good budget, but just different priorities in how they spend it.
And the longer it went on, the more I was like, no, this is very much early 90s wrestling, period. And more interestingly, and I confirmed this with a fellow person in the know, hey Lita, it reminded me a lot of my EFED. I've told you guys about this before, and we'll go into a podcast about it someday. Probably not next week, because we don't like to bog you down with wrestling too much, and I think the pay-per-view's week after.
Yeah, it is.
So, but I ran an online role-playing wrestling federation for, what did it end up being, 11 years?
Something like that.
And I've been role-playing for longer. And the style of my fed was hardcore, sort of... lots of elements of fantasy, and not by that I don't mean, swords and sorcery, but fantastic elements, like how Kane shoots fire, and Gangrel was a vampire.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. Heavy focus on storylines, but that's what we can afford to do in a role-playing format. In terms of the actual show...
You want wrestling.
It was very promo-light, lots of wrestling, and lots of violence.
Yeah, there wasn't really... I mean, they did a flashback to a couple promos from the previous show.
And there was a hype for the main event.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a hype thing.
And then for the number one match.
Just tiny stuff. Not big.
It wasn't crazy.
It was a 2-hour show. Thank God for that.
Their weekly show's only an hour.
Oh, so... but it's a 2-hour show, so they had to get to moving with the fucking wrestling matches, and they got their shit done, and they got more wrestling done in 2 hours than the E does in 3.
And it was good. Like, there were moves that our indoctrination to the WWE has caused us to be like, that man has died!
Because the WWE, when it's their main roster, they have to protect their talent. And it's a smart move business-wise. You can't have guys be fucking taking headshots with, shots to the back of the neck and crazy spine breakers and shit all the time, every week. Because eventually one of them's going to go wrong, and all of these guys are your talent. They're the ones who make the money. With NXT, full disclosure, they're just not as high valued.
Well, they're training. I mean...
So they have freedom to experiment, because...
NXT is being treated like a wrestling promotion. WWE is treated like a product.
And when you're making a product, you have to protect the product. And it's good to protect your wrestlers, but in a wrestling promotion, they have to be able to take risks. Add to that, the matches are obviously not as they're not as pre-scripted.
Choreographed, I believe is the word.
They're not as choreographed. They're not as slow. That's a big thing that I noticed immediately. Yeah. The matches are like 0.5 times faster. Even when they were slow. Even when they were intentionally slowing the pace down because the heel was just generating heat. He was just getting the audience pissed at him by slowing things down. Even when they were doing that, it was still it lasted 0.5 less time than when a heel in the WWE does it.
Well, it was more intense, too, because we'll get to match results in a bit. That is part of the show, but we are talking...
I want to talk about the general feel of the show. I enjoy it so much.
You've got the more intimate venue, and that's something that worked against NWA TNA.
Because it made them look chintzy.
But this is a developmental fed, you know that going in. So with that smaller venue, first of all, you've got diehards.
Yeah, the only people in that arena are people who fucking love NXT specifically. It seems like although they are trying to teach the talent how to get over, the people who love NXT enough to be in the arena are people who like ECW fans, are fans of the show, not necessarily individual wrestlers, even though they're also fans of individual wrestlers. Their main loyalty is to the show. You can tell that in the way they chant. Because if someone fucks up a spot, even if it's a fan favorite, they will fucking boo loud.
Yeah.
Not long, though. They forgive.
Yeah, no, they're very forgiving.
But they will boo if you fuck up a spot. And they chant NXT. NXT. Nobody fucking chants WWE. You pointed that out.
Yeah.
And that's because WWE wants to market its people, its faces. You know, it wants you to buy John Cena's t-shirt. NXT wants you to buy an NXT t-shirt. So it seems like they promote like Paul Heyman used to for ECW. Forget face, forget heel, get people over. Doesn't matter as what, get them over, and then get the show over as a place people want to be.
I don't know that I'd necessarily agree with that, but I also wouldn't disagree. Like, I would not be surprised if that were the way it was marketed.
I haven't seen enough to really make a judgment. That's my first impression.
I don't think about marketing first. I mean, like, if it rears its ugly head and is far too obvious for me to ignore it, then, yeah, I will think about marketing. But in general, I think about, what the booker has to be thinking, what the wrestlers have to be thinking, and the synergy between the two of them, or three or four, whatever, in forging storylines and planning events. I think of it from the position of someone with the book. Excuse me. And, I like what I'm seeing here. I mean, I know this was just one show.
And maybe it was the best show they've ever done. I don't know.
Yeah, somehow I doubt that. But, it wasn't terrible or anything, just it didn't live up. Certain people didn't live up to the hype. And I believe that's because of this show, not those people. Just because of the way storylines had to go. But, let me recollect my thoughts here. I have lost it entirely. Do you have something to say? I'll think.
I really like the way they utilize their talent because they have. I mean, the matches they're learning match psychology, but they're not tied so heavily to it because the fans are so diehard and they're smart. It's a smart crowd, so there isn't really there aren't a lot of situations where there is a 100% all the fans hate this motherfucker heel. So they utilize their talent knowing that. They let whoever's wrestling have big spots, crowd-pleasing spots, the kind of shit that you would normally reserve for a baby face in a main event.
Which is the psychology I've talked about having for years now. Face and heel are nice footnotes maybe, but they shouldn't be the headline.
And WWE books very much towards face and heel being the headline.
They faded away from it for a little while, and honestly, that was when their wrestling has been the best it's been in years.
Yeah.
When they let Bray Wyatt be Bray Wyatt, when so on and so forth.
When they let the talent be who they are. When they let things develop. But they usually book very heavy face heel. They usually very much push towards it. Faces who turn heel will stop doing their crowd-pleasing moves, or start to do them in the way of the crowd off to piss them off. Whereas in this, at least, for this show, because it's the only NXT show I've seen, they didn't. They let even the heels, they let shine, which is good for developing talent, good for teaching even experienced indie talent, of which there is a fucking lot on this roster, how the E tends to run, and just generally better to watch. I mean, bottom line, I want to see cool shit happen. Like, I want to see good wrestling.
Yeah.
I want to see a good story, but you don't necessarily have to book so completely for color for it to be a good story.
There was an analogy I'd like to make. Rather, there is an analogy I'd like to make. Something I saw across my Tumblr dashboard. One of the D&D blogs I follow.
Okay.
They mentioned that if there is already a plot, a story in your pre-planning phase before you started the game, you've gone too far in this campaign to just suck.
Yeah.
And I
would dispute that in terms of role-playing a little.
Well, I mean, like, you want hooks, and you want some threads, and maybe even a couple of bullet points that can be moved if necessary, especially if you're doing a plot-heavy game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're... we got some role-playing up in the wrestling podcast. Usually it's the other way around. Even if you're dealing with people who love story-heavy games like we often do, you want to make sure those are not fixed points.
No, you've got to be mutable.
Because then you're either on the plot train, or you're freaking out and breaking down when the players throw you the small swerve. And I think that's the E. I think that's the public WWE at large, is they are booking story first, even though they don't book, but, a week in advance, a session in advance, if you will. They've still alright, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, these are the things that go down, the fans need to react this way, this spot needs to go off like this, all of it is interconnected, and it must go the way it's supposed to go. And if it fucks up, I will take a shit. And it seems like, not all the time, but a lot of their big pivot moments are booked like that, and it fucks them over.
Because it feels artifice.
Well, yeah, definitely.
And that's, your fans can see that. They can feel it, especially your crowd, which is becoming older and smarter.
That's, artifice is a great word there. That's what WWE feels like. And it's great artifice, for the most part. If you listen to our other podcasts, you know what I mean. But it's still fake manufacture. Okay, alright, you know what? The old fucking argument, wrestling isn't fake. It hurts, etc., etc. This is the most fake I've ever seen professional wrestling.
Not the show we're actually talking about.
Yeah, not NXT. I'm talking about, the WWE. This is the most careful, precious princey baby steps version of professional wrestling I have ever seen. And it's tiresome. It never does anything to excite me. When NXT came on, the camera angles, listener, got me excited enough to get the fuck up out of my computer chair where I exist eternally and waddle my fat ass over to the couch to actually watch this program.
And if you're any time-length listener of the podcast, you know that is a fucking rarity. It is so rare that White does only one thing at a time. And I can tell you why the camera angles excited you so. It is simply because they were different than the ones the E uses.
The one.
No, they use 3.
Well, that's fair, but it's mostly the one.
Yeah, they shoot TV. They shoot ring forward.
Yeah.
Whereas I only saw that angle once or twice.
I mean, it's their standard angle and it's safe and that's where you want to present shit from.
But on NXT, I only saw that angle once or twice, and at the very least, even when they were showing me that angle, it was filmed from the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't really argue that a lot. They did jump around a bunch, and WWE does that sometimes, to be fair. But, it was just the way the cameramen were moving. It was the way...
It felt dynamic.
You know what? It felt like the difference between, and I'm not necessarily saying that this is the why, but this is the feeling I'm trying to get over here without actually saying, okay, Ultimate Dragon, sit down, look at this. It felt like the difference between, alright, see those fuckers? Film them doing that thing, and don't you shaky cam that shit. And, alright, I need you to make sure we've got a good angle on John Cena's face and we've got a good angle on Dolph Ziggler's face because we want to make sure the fans get good, tight, high-definition, glossy pictures for the magazines and for the website. And we need to make sure that we've got enough room in the lower left-hand corner for our logo and the upper left-hand corner for the Twitter handle. And we want to make sure that we get some shots of the crowd, but you got to be careful not to get too many shots of the guys with the bad signs or the bad t-shirts or the products we can't show on the air. Try to stay away from any of the equipment. Try to keep the referee out of shot if possible. Oh, they're going to do a spot, you better switch away because nobody is going to ever connect with anybody in any way possible in this ring. I mean, that's the fucking difference.
I feel like you went a little hard.
I did go a little hard because I felt the passion boil within me. But, yeah, I mean, just, not to get too far ahead of myself, but Baron Corbin. I talked about the way he moved a lot when we were watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
How he leaned into his work. He wasn't throwing potatoes. He wasn't actually slugging a motherfucker. But the way he pushed himself into it, it didn't look Hollywood. It didn't look, okay, if somebody were wiggling this around or making it go into slow motion and then fast motion, I would completely believe this were a Hollywood picture. It looked like a wrestling match from the wrestling that I used to watch. From the fucking wrestling that I try to watch every couple of months in ASWA.
He was working.
Yeah.
That's what working is.
Yeah.
And there are people in the WWE who can do that. Dean Ambrose is notably real fucking good.
Yeah. He's not had good chemistry with anybody in the ring lately.
Not really, no. But I think it's about time. We're about halfway through the podcast. Let's get to the matches.
That sounds like a good idea. We missed the dark match, and I'm sad
because it was a dark match.
Well, yeah, it was not possible for us to see. But I'm sad because there's a team that was in the dark match named the Vaudevillains, and
yeah, I've heard about them a couple times. Apparently, they're glorious.
That alone has got my interest peaked. What we did come in on was Hideo Itami and Tyler Breeze.
Because we both looked this up, and I knew a couple of the talents going in, since we have time and it's our podcast, I'm gonna give you a very short, brief rundown, if you don't know, as to who these guys were in the Indies, if they were anybody in the Indies, anybody important or anybody notable, if I knew about it. If I missed somebody and you feel like beating me up in the comments over, oh, you forgot this guy, he's so amazing, how could you forget this guy, you're a retard, please do, go ahead. Put it in the comments under the video.
While you're down there, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. So, Hideo Itami is Kenta Kobayashi.
That's Kenta Kobashi's big student guy, the recent acquire.
Yeah, he's super duper good and really famous in Japan, obviously.
Yeah, he's got obvious talent. I mean...
Well, he's a fucking world-class wrestler.
Yeah.
I think it's in his contract that he's not going to be in NXT for very long, because he wants up under the main roster. They're just bringing him into NXT to teach him how the WWE does things. Because their process is different. And Tyler Breeze was in the Indies for a while under a couple different names. He's nobody I've ever heard of. I'm sorry if I should have, but he isn't.
I like both of them. I love Tyler Breeze's character. I think he oversells a bit.
That's a guaranteed time from his time in the Indies. If you notice, indie wrestlers sell real big. Not every Fed, but like Ring of Honor guys don't necessarily do it. CCW guys don't necessarily do it.
CCW guys don't have to.
No.
Because they're on fire.
But you'll see it a lot with guys who are in real small promotions.
Sure.
They oversell a lot.
And he does.
It's a difference in style. It's nothing bad. It's just a difference in
style.
Well,
I mean, it's a little jarring. It's not huge. It's not like, he oversells. It's fucking awful. No, he oversells a little bit. Like, you're pushing my suspension of disbelief a teeny bit.
Hey guy, maybe tone it down. Just a hair.
Like, you've got it turned up to 11, I will accept 10. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, more accurately, you've got it turned up to 10, I will accept 9. Because he isn't, in fact, spasming to death like Devon Dudley.
God, yeah, no, Devon oversold like a bastard.
But they put on a good match.
It was a solid match. Good opener, exciting, not too exciting.
Yeah, it felt really strong.
Great way to warm up the crowd.
I love the commentary team, by the way.
Yeah. The commentary team's really, really solid. One of them's Prince Albert.
You may have noticed by our opening joke. And he's actually pretty good. The only guy we had a problem with was whoever was talking about.
Yeah, we don't know which one it was. I don't recognize their voices enough, and two of them have very similar voices.
Yeah, Corey Graves and other guy.
But one of them, started out with something really good. The first time I noticed it was in the Baron Corbin versus Bull Dempsey match, the next match on the card. I didn't really notice it in the first match. They were talking, there was one guy who would always say, if, a wrestler did a move and it took some time to recover and then went for a pinfall and it didn't work, or, took some time to recover and then the guy got up, he was like, see, he should have capitalized sooner. You can't wait on that. You have to be able to capitalize quickly. I feel like he was wasting his time. I feel like that's going to be a problem for him. Okay, it's great to say, once, twice, maybe for a match where speed is very important.
Or if it's pertinent.
Yeah. Literally after every fucking move for a while. Especially in the tag match. This is where it became something that really started to irk me was during the tag match later in the card. After literally every goddamn move. Every one.
I can't believe he didn't capitalize. He only moves at human speeds.
Like,
he's not done doing the move yet.
Sin Cara did a move, immediately went for a pinfall. I was like, should have gone for a pinfall faster. What, you fucking did you teleport?
You get in there.
It was ridiculous. He went for that gimmick too hard.
Yeah. But, they're all training. So,
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like, you don't have to hold them up to as sharp of a lens.
Yeah, I'm more willing to forgive a blown spot here than I am on Raw.
There were enough of them.
Oh, yeah. Especially in that tag match.
Not the first match. That was pretty tight.
No, the first match was really tight. Second match was...
Very tight, too.
There was at least one...
Bull Dempsey was a little shitty. Yeah, Bull Dempsey he's not...
He's some guy from the Indies. I didn't recognize the name.
Bull Dempsey's bad enough that I expect her to be on the main roster soon.
Oh, that's sad and true. I'm really honest. Yeah, he's been wrestling with it since 2006.
He's got a good presence, though.
The real name is James Smith. He's wrestled under a bunch of names.
Lives in California.
I had to look him up, so if that tells you anything.
Drives a 96 Buick LeSabre.
Let's see. Baby Huey, Smith James, Donnie Johnson.
I imagine.
Huge Smith, and Masked Superstar. He's not anything super duper, and you can tell, but he's not bad.
Did we say that Hideo Itami beat Tyler Breeze? Did we?
No, we skipped right past that. Yeah, Hideo Itami beat...
Great selling of the leg injury by Itami. I mean, this guy's...
Kenta's
I
good.
don't want to see him on the main roster because I know they're going to squish him into a little WWE box.
Yeah, they're going to turn him into fucking Taka Michinoku 2.0.
Tajiri, number 3.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Tajiri, but again, it's, I'd rather see this guy be a god among gods, as it were, than a breath of fresh air among the staleness.
And Kenta is amazing.
Yeah,
so
he's very
He was
good.
Amazing here. He took an injury earlier in the match, and this is something that is so woefully missing from a lot of wrestling that I see.
Ziggler does it.
He sold that leg injury the entire match. He would get pumped. He did a straight, 80s, full-on 80s style Hulk Hogan Hulk up, too, though. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But after he was done with it, he went back to selling the fucking leg. And it's a small thing. Very small. But it's the kind of thing that helps your suspension of disbelief and helps the story along quite a lot. If you see some guy punch a guy in the head 10, 15 times, and then he just takes a second after he's done to flex his hand, show that his hand hurts,
Or
from punching a guy.
And the opposite of that can really break down your suspension of disbelief. In a hypothetical situation, let's say a wrestler were to get suplexed, 16 times?
Yeah, 16. 16.
Utterly destroyed. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there for the sake of,
completely fucking annihilated.
Spitballing. Yeah, but let's say this guy gets annihilated in a match, and the next night he shows up.
Well, I know, maybe give him a week off.
A week, okay. So the next week he shows up and then immediately brutalizes 3 people out of nowhere because he is made of godinium. I'm being hyperbolic here. That would clearly never happen in a live production. But, you don't want that sort of thing to taint your roster at all. Ever. And I'm glad that they're showing the talent that you need to, sell moves. That's a good thing to carry up to the main roster. It's what makes superstars, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you done with your joke?
No.
Because I do need to point out that since John Cena is a mutant, that's actually not an unlikely recovery time for him.
That's true.
He has a mutant healing factor, so...
Randy Orton, I chainsawed John Cena's leg off. 2 weeks later, back, got a new leg. I can do a big boot now. Woo!
But anyway.
Next match was Baron Corbin and Bull Dempsey. No disqualification match. That never really came into play.
There was...
They hung out outside a lot, and they considered a chair.
There was a moment where a chair was thought about.
I liked it. I already talked about why I like Baron Corbin's style. Bull Dempsey's kind of a...
Talented mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, he did alright. He's a little potato sacky. Sandbaggy, that's the word I was looking for.
But yeah, he's a talented mechanic. He didn't light my sense is on fire. Baron Corbin, however, impressed. Which is more impressive.
Really cool.
Because Baron Corbin is farm. He is no time in the Indies, at least as far as I can tell through Wikipedia, because I know who the fuck this is. Just straight NXT rookie start.
And this is a fucking thing. And you mentioned Triple H talked about this too on that podcast. Talking about better podcasts than a podcast.
I don't know about better.
Well, that's shit.
Stone Cold was good.
Yeah. Would you rather if I was just like, so the boy, tell me about what you thought about watching NXT. Hold on, let me drink a beer. All right, go ahead.
If you could just live the rest of your life as Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'd find that infinitely preferable.
I'm afraid you'd start humping my leg.
Not gonna rule it out.
There was a lot of this going around when Tough Enough was the thing. And I think it still is. I think we're gearing up for a new season soon. But Taz, especially, was loud about it on the show. I don't know how much of that was a work, but there's a lot of people who got pissed off that these boys got a quick leg up into the industry where they had to fight and scrap and go through the indies. And you know what? You're going to get some training through the indies. I mean, you might be fucking amazing, especially if you're coming from Japan, especially if you're coming from a big-name federation.
Like Ring of Honor or whatever.
But there's also every chance that your run through the indies is wrong.
Like, as Triple H said, it's easier to teach someone fresh, who's never gotten to a wrestling ring before, how to be a WWE wrestler, than it is to take a guy who's incredibly talented and unteach him all his habits from the indies.
And the funny thing is, again, pimping that ASWA, Living Nightmare Jimmy Lee, local hero guy.
Great guy, again.
Yeah, fantastic guy. He talked on his Facebook a little bit about how stuff works in the indies. And he talked about how so much of the time you get these guys who can, air quotes, wrestle, and you have to unteach them. And they're not always prepared to be untaught. And
it's just sometimes it's easier to teach someone from scratch, and at least as far as I've seen, Baron Corbin is an example of that, because he is smooth.
Yeah, he's tight. I really was impressed by him. He took the victory, which is good. Because Bull Dempsey, God love him, as they say, but I wasn't blown away. I think he has a good presence, though. He'd be a nice replacement Big Show someday.
Yeah. Next match, I think.
Yes. That was the tag match with the dubstep duo, the cat fight behind me, and the Lucha Dragons.
Blake and Murphy is the dubstep duo. Blake is no one. Bill Murphy was on the indie circuit for a while.
They're on NXT. They're bigger than us.
Yeah.
They're not no one.
I meant like no one as far as fuck you. And then there's the Lucha Dragons, Kalisto and Sin Cara, who are both well-known, talented luchadors from other promotions.
Yep.
Unico is the second Mystico, and several other things besides. And then, what was it?
Samurai del Rey or something.
Del Sol.
Samurai del Sol.
Yeah, Samurai del Sol. They're really good, sort of. They blew like 5 spots.
Yeah, like, this is the first time, and this is a different Sin Cara, so I don't, but this is the first time that I've really seen the Sin Cara can't do shit in action.
Yeah, like, and it's a whole different guy. It's a whole different wrestler than, again, the Shining Masato song.
I don't know, yeah, which is purchasable on his website, which the link is in the description if you want to find.
It's a great song about how Sin Cara can blow any spot ever. It's a whole different Sin Cara, but the song still holds, people. Because he blew a couple spots, Kalisto blew a couple spots.
2, I think.
Yeah.
Sin Cara
I think it was 2 apiece.
3.
Sin Cara.
But I don't know how much of that was the other guys, because especially with Kalisto, it seemed like that dude was weirdly shaped for him. He seemed to be struggling with.
Well, because he's tiny.
Yeah, that's not always
to be
the
more
problem.
accurate, he's normal person height.
I've seen a lot of Lucha Libre wrestling. You remember how much I got into whatever it was, Lucha something, that wrestling that was on Hulu. I think it was just called Lucha Libre. But the little guys can do crazy shit.
It wasn't they didn't have good ring chemistry.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was a chemistry issue. And maybe they just suck. I don't know.
Straight up blow a couple spots.
Yeah, no, and so did Sin Cara. I'm not trying to.
Blake and Murphy they're American wrestlers. They wrestle in American style, and they were fucking good.
Yeah, they were fine. They have a very strong 80s tag team.
Yeah, it was solid. They both
They
look like the same guy.
One was a ginger, the other one was a blonde.
Otherwise, they're pretty indistinguishable, to be honest.
Which I like. I believe Spoonie said on Twitter that they put their names on their pants.
So that you know which one's which.
Yeah, because he still doesn't know which Uso is which. He has no clue, and he doesn't care. But these guys at least put their names on their pants.
But eventually Blake and Murphy went over.
Yeah, they retained their tag team championships.
It was a solid match. Sort of. It's probably, honestly, the weakest match on the card. Just because of all the blown spots and the weird chemistry issues and the fact that Kalisto was having problems juggling someone of a bigger size.
I'd like to see Kalisto in a singles match.
And the story was a little jumbled. Like they were having trouble selling like a mix between Blake and Murphy being opportunists and Kalisto and Sin Cara not capitalizing, just taking too much time to showboat. That was the two stories they were going for, and they had trouble meshing them, and they just came across kind of jumbled.
The reason I was trying to give a little bit of shadow of a doubt over the Lucha Dragons performance is because I don't want to sound like we're just bandwagoning, because we're not. I mean, this is stuff that was observable with our face eyes.
Yeah, and this is first impression stuff.
Yeah.
All right, you will hear me. I'm sure by 6 months watching this, I will have people I bitch as hard and long about as I used to bitch about Wade Barrett. Okay, but first impression, Kalisto, very cool. Does a lot of cool spots. Did not impress me.
He didn't do all of the spots well, and I think it's one of those things where in wrestling, it's the opposite of the customer service mentality, the Disney mentality. A wrong made right is still bad.
Yeah.
So, credit where credit's due. He's very athletically talented, but you need to be good enough to hit all of those spots when the time comes.
Or, don't do them.
Yeah, precisely. Or if you're able to recover them. The commentary team didn't help, but Sin Cara blew a whirlwind arm drag of some stripe.
I think it was just a fucking Hurricane Rana, man. Like, it was something real simple. No, it was a head scissor.
Head scissor is what it was. It was a head scissor! Call back to WrestleMania years ago. Yeah, and he just sort of flopped off of whichever of the dubstep guys he was attacking.
But,
and he laid there like it had been reversed. He was like,
he sold it like a reversal, which was a great way to save that as much as you can.
The commentary team didn't, but I had noticed and appreciated the effort.
Because the dubstep guy who was there also sold it like he'd reversed it.
He was like, yeah!
I did it! Somehow. Moving on.
Yes, to Adrian Neville versus Finn Balor.
Holy shit, Finn Balor's fucking cool. That is a cool gimmick.
I was gonna say something on this earlier, but I figured wait until Finn Balor. First of all, the guy's name is awesome. I don't know if anybody else picks up on this stuff because I don't know how many other people out there listening are me when it comes to words. Finn is an Irish name.
Yeah.
Balor, as you all know, or Balor in Dungeons and Dragons, is a type of demon.
Right. And in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And the cadence with which his name is said, Finn Balor, sounds a lot like Fane Ballie, which is a very popular Irish colloquialism. What genius fucking magic! What necromancy on this guy's name!
Quick rundown. Adrian Neville is Pac from various indie circuits, Ring of Honor, some Japan work, New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think, and maybe All Japan Pro Wrestling. Finn Balor's Prince Devitt, who's fucking huge, and as you pointed out, also Pegasus Kid 2.
Yeah, I was looking at his Wikipedia page going, who's this guy? And I went, oh, what a fucking honor.
Which, from what I understand, he gets a lot of comparisons, and favorable ones at that.
Oh, definitely.
To the original Pegasus Kid, who is redacted.
Whatever. However you feel about the tragic situation that ended Chris Benoit's life, the legacy of his commitment to wrestling is something that you cannot argue with.
That's true. But
You know what, listener? If you haven't ever seen his old days before he became the rabid Wolverine, when he was a high flyer, please go back and find Pegasus Kid and sit in awe of the raw talent this man had before he beat his body to death.
And fucking Prince Devitt here, Finn Balor, is real fucking good.
But the point I was going to make is, one of the things that kept me from watching this, you said it was because, it's the minor leagues, how good can they really be? I really enjoy the production of WWE. I enjoy the cool lights, the cool entrances, the cool outfits. If I want to see dudes in, $100 wrestling attire, I will go to my local shows and support my local guys. I'm not going to tune into your WWE product. And I was expecting to see that, because this is, the farm. But it's not. Oh my god, the lights, the screens, the shit I'm stealing.
They put WWE shine on that product.
With some ingenuity and creativity as well, and I really appreciate that all of it.
The kind of ingenuity and creativity that makes me happy and hopeful for the future when Vince does retire. I'm saying retire because although Vince says he's going to die in his chair, I really hope he doesn't. I don't want Vince McMahon to be dead. I just want him to be done.
Yeah, recent things might push him out sooner than later. Depends on how far the stocks drop. But that's another discussion for another day that we're not really qualified to have.
Right now we're talking about stuff that's happening.
Finn Balor is fucking amazing. He moves like a dancer. And that's not like his gimmick is a dancer.
He's not Fandango.
Yeah, he moves like he's got the poise and precision of a ballerina. Ballerino? Is there a...
I think it's just ballerina.
Ballet fuck guy?
Sure. Ballet bro. Ballet bro.
I like ballerino.
Ballerino.
It sounds like a 50s, like, hey buddy, hey pal, hey ballerino.
To me it almost sounds like a Mexican restaurant.
Come down to El Ballerino.
Yeah, see?
We got quesadillas. And tacos de tacos.
And then there's Adrian Neville. Alright. Adrian Neville, I hear nothing but how amazing Adrian Neville is. All the people at my work who talk about how much I love NXT, all the people I talk with who White here doesn't talk with, who mention to me about NXT, my side of this Venn diagram are always fucking going on and 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 on about how good Adrian Neville is. Pac is good, but he was wrestling heel, so he didn't get to show off his full fucking
repertoire.
Range, his full repertoire, his full gear. He didn't get to fucking go into high gear for very much. He didn't wrestle face, and I get the sense that's where he feels more natural. Also, and this is a really, really petty thing to say, unless he gets over like Daniel fucking Bryan got over, I don't see him as a main event talent in the league. If that's the goal of NXT, I don't see that goal being reached by this talent. For a very simple reason, he looks funny. He looks funny. He looks humorous, and Jack Swagger is a talented power wrestler, but he has a lisp. It's just how he
You know what, though? His head is not any worse than Wade Barrett. And they made Wade Barrett work.
They gave Wade Barrett a humorous gimmick.
Well, I mean, you gots to do what you gots to do. But you know what? I'm still of the opinion that I would rather these guys be,
you'd rather
they are.
Yeah, you'd rather they stay in NXT and not be ruined by the main roster.
Please stay down here where you can do a move.
I hear a lot. I've been looking it up over the last couple of weeks in preparation for this. There are some people on the main roster who are frustrated at NXT. Not because of those guys being, not because of anything they did, because there are people on the main roster who want to be able to have matches like that.
Oh, no doubt.
Who want to be able to wrestle, goddammit, and they're not allowed to by the main television rules. And there's some frustration going around the locker room about it, and it really wouldn't surprise me if that were true.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
It might just be a substantiated rumor, but it sounds fucking cromulent to me.
If I were in that situation, I'd be upset too. I would like sit around with my wrestle bros and I'd be like, dude, remember when we could do a pile driver? Remember pile drivers? You remember DDTs? Oh my god, DDTs. I get to do a DDT. You don't count as a person. That was Heath Slater, by the way.
I hate you, Heath Slater. Your name's so stupid.
That's another Shining Wazano's song. If you guys follow the link in the description, you can buy all of Shining Wazano's delicious tracks right now. Hey, if you buy all of his tracks, you could buy more of his tracks. I'm not authorized to make deals. In the end, Finn Balor went over. And it was a very tight match. Like, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was the main event, and I was like, wait, there's more matches. What a wonderful world I live in.
Also, side note, Finn Balor's entrance, again, real fucking cool.
Oh, incredible character. Just fantastic. I love the duality between being just a regular dude, and then, like, he gets to the ring and he becomes the monster. It seems like a lot of what Jeff Hardy was trying to do. And, gosh, what's a nice way to put this, because I'm the moderate of our duo. He got a little too artsy about it, and it kind of lost its punch.
Yeah. Whereas, fucking Finn Balor does not. He's very good. And from what I understand, again, I'm waiting to see the real thing, but this is from what I've been told, that fucking cool-ass monster face paint, and then the really, badass headdress, and the crawl out to the ring, that really cool entrance, just for pay-per-views.
Which is awesome. Not that this is a pay-per-view, it's a Supercard. It's the technical term.
It's a pay-per-view. It's their big card. It's their pay-per-view show.
But they are a pay-per-view show, really.
Yeah. But for like regular shows, he just fucking does an entrance.
I like that. I like that as well. The next match is a Fatal 4-Way Divas match that the crowd was so fucking psyched was happening.
Yeah, like it was a Divas match, and this was not your piss break match. Because it was really good, and the crowd was super fucking into it, and they were chanting, and they were engaged. And do you want to know why, listener? I'll tell you why. Because these ladies were allowed to fucking wrestle.
And they were allowed to have personalities more than anything. They were allowed to be characters, not...
the same character.
Not a note. Yeah, like not a flavor of the same scoop of ice cream. You know how there's vanilla, and then there's vanilla ribbon with caramel, and then there's vanilla with Oreo cookies in it?
That's the WWE Divas roster.
And I like vanilla, but fuck, give me some strawberry.
These were all four very different characters.
If there was anyone I was disappointed by in this match, it was Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, and Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks was big in the Indies, and so was Becky Lynch, right? And
yeah.
Bayley is Bayley.
Yeah. Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks was big in the Indies under like Mercedes.
Mercedes,
was her name. And Becky Lynch has gone by a couple different names, but she's pretty big too.
Rebecca Knox, I believe.
Yeah, Rebecca Knox is the main one. Charlotte Flair is NXT, born and bred. She's pure WWE farm.
And everything I've seen from her is very talented.
She's fucking good, yo. He talked about Finn Balor, Finn Balor, you said moves like a dancer.
Oh god, he does.
Charlotte Flair moves like a fucking dancer. Everything she did was smooth and tight and well done.
See, I wasn't that impressed by her in this match.
I was. It was low-key stuff, because she was wrestling pretty...
She was obviously the one who was the one to beat.
Yeah, she was wrestling strong, but it was all really well done.
And the story of this match was really good, actually, because it was clear that she had become, very strong in their women's division. And was like, this was a match where 3 other wrestlers basically teamed up to fuck her over, and, in the end, one of them were the ones who picks up the pieces and walks away, kind of thing.
Beginning story of the match was the 2 heels, Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, team up, and they end up knocking Charlotte out and beating up Bayley, because Bayley's your woman. They call her literally the huggable one.
I loved the chant, Bayley's gonna hug you. That was awesome.
It was a solid match. There was a lot of really good wrestling.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of really fucking damaging, violent-looking moves, which, again, the E does not let divas do.
Yeah, the divas have to wrestle with a more curtailed move list than the regular wrestlers.
And this helped me understand something. When Paige first came from NXT into the WWE, she had the best character, aside from AJ Lee, whose character is really jumbled, but AJ Lee is incredibly charismatic. So it worked. But Paige had the most fucking one unique, two tightly written and tightly presented characters that I'd seen in the Divas division in a long time. They, over the course of several months, flattened out that spike. She is now the same as all the other divas, only she wears a leather jacket and screams. That's her hat. That's the thing that makes her different from all the other divas, otherwise she's completely interchangeable. And I know why now, because they let these female wrestlers have characters of their own. You know,
and not just be what can we market on Total Divas.
Yeah. Becky Lynch has it's honestly probably the thinnest gimmick, but it's there. Has her own thing going. She's a rocker chick, kind of a heel, and, has a very...
I don't know about a thin gimmick. A simple gimmick.
Yeah, simple.
Simple doesn't need to be bad.
Sasha Banks is... she's got YOLO swag 420. She
lives it to the nines. She's awesome at it.
She's got gold-plated slotted shades that I could feel white lusting after behind me. She's got one of those big-ass sets of brass knuckle rings that says boss on it. She wears gold chains and gold
awesome outfit, too, man.
And, gold rings and gold bangles and shit. She's like female Mr. T from 2015. And Bayley is a joke that you will not possibly get this time. But she's ultimately an early 90s girl. 92, 93, with the real stupid fucking hairdo.
And the Dayglow colors.
The Dayglow, Dayglow not quite
she's hard to look at, I believe is what I said.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that she's unattractive, I just mean it's difficult to
she's
look
difficult, the colors clash very much. And that's very early 90s. Charlotte Flair she's a blue chipper. She's a blue chipper, but not...
Well, she's kind of a legacy
title,
too. Kind of the way Ted DiBiase and Randy Orton
started, yeah. And she is talented and knows it. And, very much early Ted DiBiase Jr., early Randy Orton.
Cody Rhodes, I think, was the other part of that.
Yeah.
Before being 9 gimmicks ago.
But Cody Rhodes back then was not, shall we say, talented.
Oh, he was okay. He just had that
He was trained by hardcore
to wash off. Is this the part of the match where I break their fucking arms? No, don't do that. Who told you that was acceptable?
Bob! Fucking Bob!
Instead of breaking their arms, hump them.
And that's how we got the Cody we have today. But it was a great match. Eventually,
basically, Sasha Banks cashed in. It was chaos. It became fucking chaos. And she did a lot of good stuff, but she was the one who took the opportunity.
And she went over clean by being canny. She didn't cheat, even though she was the bad guy.
Clever.
She just outsmarted the others, and it was really, really solid. That brings us to our main event. And they hyped this match to the nines.
Yeah, they talked about it a lot in the build-up. I like that.
They didn't talk about it, and this is important, they didn't fucking talk about it during other people's matches. They talked about it in between matches. They talked about it when they were doing Pump For It. They talked about it on the little commercial thingies they did. They did, little interstitials for it. Just very small throughout the match. Not a lot of time spent on it all told, but enough to keep you psyched. Enough to keep you hyped. But when other people were in the ring, they didn't fucking talk about it. They didn't, by the way, I know Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins are having an amazing fucking clinic, but let's talk about John Cena's battle with the authorities some more. It's such a big and important thing that I feel like if they know that they're not supposed to do that, why did they do it on the main show?
Well, because they feel like they're supposed to do it on the main show. You know that as well as I do. It's something that fries JR and Stone Cold's buttocks. I think I found out with a perfect comparison. And I mentioned this before that I thought the commentary was tight because they work like a wrestling commentary team. They reminded me a lot of Mongo, Bischoff, and forgive me, I don't remember who the other guy was off the top of my head. He's a legend, and I know that. His name was escaping me.
Was it Bobby Heenan?
Might have been Bobby Heenan. I don't remember.
I
Like, I know a bunch of the guys who are ringside, and I
Didn't
can't
watch
remember.
a lot of WCW, so I can't help.
But it's that very tight, two people doing great commentary, and then the weird wrestler guy who says stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
And they're talking about wrestling. They're talking about the wrestlers. They're talking about the ones in the ring. They're analyzing the match.
They know the names of obscure moves. They can tell you.
They're putting shit over, and
they're following the WWE, largely following the WWE mindset of, oh my god, keep talking, never stop talking for a second.
But the difference is they're doing it like wrestling commentators. What you see on Raw are political pundits.
And yeah, political pundits who happen to be talking about wrestling, like, who happen to have a wrestling match going on in front of them that they occasionally notice. And I love one of those political pundits, JBL, my life. But it doesn't mean that it's good wrestling commentary.
No, and it's not. It takes away from the product instead of adding to it.
As probably the best the best ring commentator ever, JR, has said his whole career. Wrestlers make the music. Commentators make the lyrics. The music is more important, and the lyrics have to serve the music.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. He might be my spirit guide, but Joey Styles, man.
I love Joey Styles. I'd love to debate this with you sometime.
Yeah, I'd have to have some footage. But, JR, I better catchphrase. This Joey's got grading. But, anyway. This match, they reset the pace, and I think that kind of drew us out of it a lot. Because they just came off of, two really incredible matches, and the crowd was hyped, so they needed to reset their cooldowns, as it were, to calm the crowd down a little bit, put over Kevin Owens as a heel.
Because apparently he came into NXT 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn's been here for a while. Quick thing, Kevin Owens is...
He's Kevin Steen.
He's Kevin Steen. He's big.
He's
a CZW grad, so he's a fucking psychopath.
And Sami Zayn is El Generico.
Yeah, he's El Generico.
I mean, if you don't recognize those names, then I'm not going to say somebody that's like, oh yeah, look.
It's just fucking Google. Google Kevin Steen, El Generico. You know that. They reset the pace and it drew me out of the match.
It did.
I had to pause and reset because this show had been good enough at this point that I felt like they deserved some of my trust. If this had been an e-show, I was eating. I just kept eating my food and not paying attention to what was in front of me. I, reset and put my food the fuck away until the match was over because I wanted to give all of my attention to this match. Because even though it hadn't drawn me in, the rest of the card was so good that I felt like this main event deserved some of my trust.
And it was a very Japanese build-up. Reminded me a lot of Misawa and Kawada, that one epic match with the Ganso Bomb that I love so very, very fucking dearly.
He really does. He mentions this shit all the time.
I do. I'm insufferable about it. But it was a very slow build. Lots of,
Yeah, you're right. It was
little
a very
holds.
Japanese build.
But, the second you stopped paying attention, if you were to stop paying attention, is when one of them exploded briefly.
And, it would go, and it kept going.
Yeah, they'd take it back.
Things got crazier and crazier. And every time they would explode, the explosions would be bigger and more spectacular and more Michael Bay-esque.
And until the end, when we had 57 power bombs.
It was just 3.
5.
It was just 3. It was the one that he caught him on. It was a catch power bomb where he popped him up and power bombed him. And then
wasn't it 4?
Oh yeah, no, it was 4.
Because the last point he was like 1. No, I'm doing it again. 2. It was the 3rd time. Fuck you.
And then he went for a 4th one, which would have made it 5 total.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm just gonna go straight to the ending. Kevin Owens won and got the NXT Championship by referee fucking stoppage.
Traditionally in professional wrestling, referee stoppage is kind of like a no contest. It's the match is over, the match doesn't count.
WWE does that. When a referee has to stop a match for one guy getting too violent, that guy doesn't win. He loses.
Well, no, they started doing that with Rusev.
Yeah.
They
started, but before Rusev, for years, if a referee had to stop a match, the match was just done. There was no winner.
That never made sense to me. In my EFED, that was you won, but if referee stoppage happened, you won because the referee was like, all right, chill.
You're gonna actually murder him.
This is done now. You win. Fuck off.
You win. Just stop. Please don't kill a man.
Hammer, don't hurt him.
Which makes more sense from a logical standpoint, because if you've beaten a man so much the referee has to throw in the towel on the match, that means you win.
Or in this case, spear you out of the way.
Yeah, like, the beating Sami Zayn was getting by this, and Sami Zayn, it wasn't a complete squash match.
No, he gave.
He gave, but not as good as he got.
All the build-up and hype that everybody gave you for Adrian Neville, I've been getting about Sami Zayn.
Well, I mean, he's fucking El Generico.
Well, right. And, I mean, I understand that. But I haven't seen a lot of El Generico. I just know his name and knew his name without Googling who Sami Zayn was. So obviously he was big enough in the Indies to make an impression. Enough. Like CM Punk was before he got to the E. I knew who CM Punk was. I never watched his matches, but I knew who he was.
I had watched some CM Punk matches, but I like, saw them out.
I watched a compilation of Pepsi plunges, I think.
You know what the funny thing is? It was actually, and this is a really off-the-rails story, it was actually the Pepsi plunge that got me to look up CM Punk and watch a couple of his matches. Because one, the idea of top rope pedigree is really cool, and two, it's a long fucking story, listener, are you prepared? When I was like a real little kid, 10, 11, my brother-in-law and I, there was a wrestling video game. And it was a computer game where you managed a wrestling federation. There wasn't any... the matches were simulated.
TEW.
Yeah, TEW.
You guys know what it is.
And...
if not, Google it. It's free.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool. You can make custom matches and all. It was really fun.
It's a booking simulator.
Yeah, it's a booking simulator.
To be very clear.
One of the characters did what was called, that my brother-in-law created, did what he called the Monday Night Death Drop, which was a Pepsi plunge. And I didn't know that. He knew who CM Punk was back then and stole his finisher and called it something else. To me, he just described it as a top rope pedigree. I was like, oh, and then I found out later, years later, a real wrestler had that fucking move, and I was like, I'm watching this.
Yeah. Yeah, all the hype that I've had was over Sami Zayn. Oh, you gotta watch Sami Zayn. I wasn't that impressed. Now, I think it's because of the match. And this is what I mentioned earlier. I think this match wasn't a showcase of Sami Zayn. This was here to put over Kevin Owens. Yeah. But, I mean, he gave, and he worked well, and he sold well, and...
he did cool stuff.
Yeah.
This match was not meant to showcase his talent. It was meant to showcase Kevin Owens as a threat. As a real, genuine threat.
And, I mean, I bought it.
Yeah.
Like...
by the end, he was murdering him.
He was spaghetti. Rolling gently through the ring.
Okay, so after the second power... after, he'd beaten him, to death for, maybe 5 straight minutes. Maybe 10.
He hit the first powerbomb is what it was, and went for the pinfall. And he rolled out of the pin and just kept going.
He didn't kick out, because, Kevin was, he was dead, so Kevin went for just 2 hands on his chest. Pin. He didn't actually pin him, he just sort of held him down, this is all I need to do. And Sami Zayn gently rolled out of the pin.
It's the fact that it was a gentle roll.
Just gently rolled out of the pin, like you're rolling over in bed, and then he just kept rolling until we got to the edge of the ring.
Which I've seen, people roll fast, oh fuck, I gotta get out of here. No, he was like, goodbye. I gotta go to the store.
They even sold it a little bit like Sami Zayn may have caused his own downfall, which I liked. There was a point where he did an over-the-top rope move to the outside of the ring, and they sold it like he bashed the back of his head on the ramp. And after that point, Sami Zayn sold like a beast. He sold that he did not know where the fuck he was for the rest of that match. He didn't know who he was, where he was, or really,
what was going on.
What was happening
why
in his
this
life.
friendly fat bear was tagging him.
And he sold that shit amazingly. But this wasn't a showcase match for Sami Zayn, and honestly, not my favorite match on the card.
No. I think that's got to be Finn Balor versus AJ Neville.
Finn Balor versus Adrian Neville, top match. Second match, actually, probably the Divas match.
Yeah, I think I liked Hideo Itami and Tyler Breeze.
Oh, it was solid, but I liked the Divas match more.
I don't... The Fatal 4-Way was nice, but it didn't showcase enough of each individual Divas for my tastes.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. I can.
But...
I think it was maybe just me being so hyped for women actually getting to wrestle.
Right. But I will say this. After the show, I looked at Boy and said, I can be done with WWE.
Yeah, we're going to keep the network because WWE has been nice enough. They know that their main product is not really for us anymore. They're trying to hit every possible demographic, so they can't make a product that's tailored to us. Tailored to smart, wrestling fans. I'm not smarks necessarily, but...
You can't tailor to smarks because they're contrarians by nature.
Yeah, if they find out you're doing that, they'll boo everything just to piss you off. But, long-time wrestling fans who are interested in the wrestling and want to see, dynamic matches and that sort of thing. And because it's a smaller thing and not as financially risky, they can make NXT that for us. They've made the E was nice enough to make us a wrestling program for us to watch. So I'm probably going to. I mean, they've at least got my ass in a chair for this Wednesday.
Plan right now, as the boy says, it is to continue to watch WWE pay-per-views. My response to that, I believe, was, sure.
I want to watch WWE pay-per-views, and I'll probably just catch the weekend review for WWE to keep up on storylines, just so I can keep you up, listener. And
I don't know that I care. I'd be fully happy to switch to NXT.
And I don't mind that at all, especially because 1 hour show.
Yeah! Oh my god, how much do we bitch about the 3-hour program? First of all, this 2-hour piece felt perfect.
Yeah, that's what you want for
it was done when I was done, and I appreciate that. But a 1-hour show, like Heat used to be, tight. Like, week to week, you don't need to take that much out of my day. Just refresh me on shit that's going on.
I don't need to watch Lord of the Rings every week.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch wrestling Lord of the Rings every week. God damn it.
Oh my god, have I ever made that comparison? Because, wow, nail on the head. I don't need to watch Lord of the Rings every fucking week. Certainly not twice in 1 week.
Just, what the fuck, guys? Come on.
Especially when it's a weird Lord of the Rings where Gandalf is from Boston. Excuse me, West Newbury.
That's right, motherfucker.
Fake-ass name.
West New. That's a real town.
No,
that's where
he made it up.
That's what he's. I think
from
that's
John Cenaville.
That's what, he was grown. He was grown in a lab.
Manufactured on fucking Krypton.
Oh.
You know what? Honestly, though, yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing these guys get better. I look forward to watching the show Wednesday. My gut reaction is to be like, no, I don't want to watch a whole wrestling. It's just an hour of my life. I've watched episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I could not have given a fuck about that were an hour long.
Yeah, this is good wrestling. It's only an hour of my time. You sold me.
And
until you piss me off, and real talk, like really piss me off, you got my ass in the chair. Every Wednesday, here I am.
So, I don't know how long we're going to be doing the WWE pay-per-view podcast. I don't know how long you're going to hold out. I don't know how long it's going to stay a podcast, even if we are still watching the show. Because I'd much rather talk about something we're excited to talk about, good or ill. The WWE, we can fill time bitching, but the actual matches... It's that ooze that I was talking about at the beginning, where we're just trapped under this, it's hard. And watching wrestling shouldn't be hard. It's the definitive act of dumbass rednecks with a can of beer in one hand, the remote in the other, the clicker, as they call it, their beer gut hanging out from their too small Willie Nelson shirt, trucker hat precariously positioned on their sweaty head as they lean back in their recliner found at the landfill and go, time to watch me some wrestling. You shouldn't have to put forth effort to be that Jeff Foxworthy t-shirt.
I'm going to be honest, you painted a real good picture there.
You know why?
That was amazing.
Do you know why?
Why?
Everything is better when nerds talk.
Fuck it, let's get hardcore!